Hello, and welcome to this virtual presentation of the California Pre-Doctoral Program Scholarship Opportunity Workshop, also known as the Sally Casanova Scholarship. My name is Traci Statler. I am the Associate Director of the Office of Graduate Studies and am the Pre-Doc Program Coordinator for Cal State Fullerton. You will be interacting with me if you decide to submit an application for the California Pre-Doc program. Our plan for today is to review the program itself, to take a look at the purpose and selection criteria of the California Pre-Doc program, the different parts of the application, an example of the essays that are required as part of the application packet, and review some of the common problems that we've seen over the years with other people submitting their applications to this program. We'll look at some of those common problems with the pre-doc application, and then at the end I will also give some general grant writing advice on how to submit the best possible application that you can. So without further delay, let's jump into understanding what the California Pre-Doc program is all about. The purpose of the Sally Casanova Pre-Doctoral Program is to increase the potential faculty pool for the CSU system. It supports doctoral aspirations, predominantly PhD aspirations, of Cal State University students who have experienced any sort of economic and/or educational disadvantage. The Sally Casanova Scholarship provides up to $3,000 for a variety of different items. Things like paying the travel expenses to visit a potential doctoral granting institution that you may be interested in for further study. It allows reimbursement for travel to professional conferences. It pays your membership fees in professional organizations. It can offset the expense involved with the application fees for your doctoral program applications or your transcript fees involved in completing those applications. It can even be used to help pay for test prep courses like the GRE exam. It even can give you up to $500 for research materials, for the materials needed for you to complete your research in progress right now. The beauty of the Sally Casanova Scholarship is that there is no designated requirement for how you spend that $3,000 award. You spend the money based off of your design, how you want to structure that award. Additionally, you can also apply for a paid summer research internship in the year between, in the academic year, the summer in between the fall and spring semesters. Again, this then provides even more resources, more financial assistance towards growing your application for that doctoral program work. One thing you may have noticed on this slide is that the two bullet-pointed items, travel to visit doc granting institutions and travel to conferences, has an asterisk next to it. That's because right now, in the age of the pandemic, the Sally Casanova program is not permitting funding for travel-related expenses. There is no travel-related anything going on right now. So for people who are current recipients of the Sally Casanova Scholarship, those travel items in the budget have been eliminated. However, for those who are submitting a new application for the 21-22 application cycle, at this point, go ahead and list any of those travel-related budget items with the intent that hopefully the world will get back to some semblance of normal and we'll be allowed to travel to our doc institutions and to conferences yet again. This may change based on guidelines of public health, but at this point, for this application cycle, for those of you submitting a new application for the 21-22 application cycle, go ahead and include those travel-related expenses. So in order to apply for the Sally Casanova Scholarship, you first have to be eligible. Eligibility includes the following requirements. You must be currently enrolled at Cal State Fullerton for the upcoming spring 2021 semester and anticipate being a registered student for fall 21 as well. You need to be seeking a PhD degree, a research-focused doctoral degree. This program is not intended for practical degrees like an MD, a JD, a PsyD. It's got to be a research-focused degree. Again, this ties back into the purpose of the Sally Casanova Scholarship being about the development of people who want to come back to teach in the Cal State system. So it's got to be a research degree, which is traditionally a PhD-focused degree. You need to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and unfortunately at this time, international students are excluded from the Sally Casanova Pre-Doc program. And you have to have a faculty sponsor from the CSUF campus. If you have any questions about your eligibility for the Sally Casanova Scholarship Program, please contact me directly and I can talk through it with you to determine whether you are or not eligible. The selection criteria, once an application is submitted, is fairly simple, but there are some requirements. The selection committee is going to review your overall application with an eye towards understanding your potential for success in completing a doctoral program. This is evidenced through the ways in which you describe your anticipated focus, what your research interests are, and in the ways that you answer the 3 questions that are part of the application packet. We'll get to those questions in a minute. The selection committee is also going to evaluate your application package for probable effectiveness of your student-faculty plan. This is a budget. You're going to outline a budget of what you would want to do with the $3,000 that you would be awarded. The committee is going to take a look at that budget and determine the effectiveness, the likely effectiveness of that plan. The last thing that the selection committee will look at is the level of economic and educational disadvantage that the student experiences. And all of these things are addressed in component pieces of the application package that you're going to put together. So let's take a look at what that application looks like. There are a variety of different pieces to it, some of which are the direct responsibility of the student who is applying. Some responsibility falls on the faculty sponsor, who is going to be the mentor for the student, and there's a piece where you need to work collaboratively. So on the application, the responsibilities of the student must fill out the application form itself. This is the applicant information, your signature, some demographic information. The student must complete the 3 total essays, and those questions, like I said, are coming up here in a minute. You must provide a copy of your transcripts, and these can be either official or unofficial transcripts from each university that you have attended, both bachelor's and or master's degree applicants. So any of those transcripts must be attached to your application as well. Your faculty mentor or faculty sponsor needs to provide their information as well as provide a confidential recommendation letter to the chancellor's office. The student is responsible for letting the faculty member know that they need to write a letter, but the faculty letter goes directly to the chancellor's office. That does not go back to the student. And then the faculty member must also put their signature on that document as well. Collaboratively, the student and the faculty member will work together to create the activities and budget plan, that outline of how the student intends to use the $300. How will they allocate that reward for all of the component pieces that they want reimbursement on? So those 3 sections are the responsibilities of both the student and the faculty member. When the student creates the actual application, there will be a number of attachments. You'll need to fill out the actual application form itself. That's the demographic piece. And then you'll also need to attach to that form that student plan and budget, your transcripts, individual pages for the 3 essay questions, and a statement about the faculty letter of recommendation. Again, the letter of recommendation itself is not appended to what the student attaches, but there is a statement in that attachment that identifies who is going to be asked to write that letter. On those attachments, the chancellor's office requests that students combine all of these documents into one PDF form. So you will be able to download the application itself, and then you'll need to append into that same PDF your transcripts, your 3 essays, and another notification of the faculty identified. Again, let me reiterate that the student is not responsible for attaching the faculty member's letter of recommendation. The student is simply identifying who the faculty member is and how to contact them, and then the chancellor's office will notify the professor, the faculty member, about where to send their letter of recommendation. So with that, let's take a look at the essay questions. What is a student going to need to do with regard to those 3 individual essays? The 3 essays are used, as I mentioned earlier, to assess your written communication skills, as well as your readiness for and commitment to doctoral study. Identifying and clearly explaining your commitment to doc study is a critical piece of your application, because again, that's what this scholarship, that's what this program is intended to develop. So you're going to need to really highlight your commitment to your doctoral program. Please think very carefully before you submit your essays about what you want each individual essay to say, and compose your essay with care. You will likely do multiple iterations of this essay. You'll start with a general draft, and then you'll need to work with your faculty member to edit this and revise it and make modifications to this. Each essay can be a maximum of 600 words, and we mean that literally. If it goes over to 602, the committee won't review it. So each essay needs to be between 300 and 600 words in length, must be typed, and should absolutely be reviewed, spell checked for spelling, for grammar, for syntax. All of that matters here. For each one of those essays, you're going to want to include your name on a separate sheet, as well as the essay question itself at the top of the page, preferably bolded at the top of the page, and then your 300 to 600 word response. So at the top of the page, write your name, essay number 1, copy and paste the actual essay question itself, skip a line, and then start writing your response. Be sure to do this for each essay and put each essay on a separate page. Okay. The questions for this year's application cycle are as follows. The first question asks you to describe the field of study in which you would like to pursue a doctoral degree, and the research questions or theoretical perspectives that interest you within that field. They want you to be specific on this. And again, remember, you only have 600 words maximum to be able to answer this question. Make sure as you are crafting your response that you are very clear about the field of study in which you want to pursue your doc degree and what kinds of research or theoretical perspectives you would embrace throughout the progress of that doc degree. The second question asks about your personal background, your personal history. What elements of your educational, research, community service, and/or personal experience have contributed to your interest in and preparation for pursuing doctoral study, as well as your determination to succeed in it? This question allows you to get a little bit personal with the reviewers. It allows you to show who you are. It talks about what your past experience has done to grow your interest in pursuing the doctoral degree that you are interested in. The reviewers like to see something of your personal experience in this. They want to hear about you. This is where you get an opportunity to show yourself as an individual different from anybody else who would be applying to this program. The third question has to do with multiculturalism and diversity. Many professionals with doctoral degrees enter careers to serve as college and university faculty. Again, the purpose of this program. And most faculty serve within a diverse student body. Please describe your interest in such a career and experience that would prepare you for it. This isn't asking you to just talk about why you want to be a college professor. It's asking you to talk specifically about why you would want to be a college professor in a field at a program that is multicultural and diverse. So this is where you're going to need to talk about how diversity will influence and impact your desire to work in this area at a Cal State University. Once you have your essays completed, you will also need to work collaboratively with your faculty mentor on devising your student budget plan. This is where you get to tell the application review committee how you would anticipate using the $3,000 if you were to receive this award. There's a very specific form that needs to be filled out. You can see that form here on the slide. And there are certain activities that are eligible and some things that are not. So the form itself gives you a list of the kinds of things that you could use your reward for. So things like the expenses to go and visit PhD program campuses, to be able to go to another Cal State or a UC system campus. If you wanted to expand your PhD aspirations beyond the UC or Cal State system, if you wanted to go to other doc degree granting institutions, those first two boxes allow you to indicate how much money it would cost you for airfare, for lodging expenses, for per diem, for any sort of travel expenses related to traveling to those campuses to investigate their programs prior to submitting your doc applications. You can also use this money to offset the expenses involved in things like professional memberships or going to professional meetings, annual meetings of the organization that oversees your subdiscipline or disciplinary area. You can use these fees to pay for symposium or registration costs for seminars or colloquia. So any attendance at a professional meeting, any sort of conference, any of those that have registration fees associated with them, you can use this scholarship to offset that expense. As I mentioned earlier, you can also use this scholarship to pay for your graduate school applications for the actual application fees. I will note that if you are planning on applying to any of the UC campuses, know that Sally Casanova Scholars have that fee waived. So you don't need to include UC campuses in this document. That fee will be waived for you if you are a Sally Casanova Scholarship grantee. You can also use this for admissions test fees, so things like the GREs. If you need to take a specialized version of the GRE or the general GRE, you can use this scholarship to pay for those test fees as well as preparation expenses. So if you wanted to take a GRE prep course, you could use this scholarship to help pay for that prep course as well. The bottom box is sort of the catch-all box. These are some of the other things that we have identified as highly likely things that students might want to use this money for. Things like subscriptions to professional journals, any special software that you need to be able to complete or do your research, any minor upgrades to your computer capacity or research materials. We will note that research-related expenditures, for example, any specific computer software, computer memory upgrades, laboratory supplies, those kinds of things are delimited to a maximum of $500 total of your $3,000 request, but you can list them here. When you fill out this student budget plan, please plan on creating a line item for each cost rather than collapsing all of your expenses, say for example to visiting non-UC campuses. Let's say you wanted to go to 3 different campuses to visit that were not UC system schools. Rather than combining all of those expenses and having a single amount listed in your estimated cost column, you want to break those out. So tell us specifically, in order to go to University X, this is how much it costs for the airfare, this is how much it costs for the lodging, this is how much I would ask for per diem. If I were to go to University Y, this is how much it costs for airfare, this is how much it costs for lodging, this is how much it costs for per diem. You want to break that out into those boxes. The review committee is going to want to see some specificity on what your estimated costs will look like. A word of advice: try to make your total estimated cost add up to exactly $3,000. If you think you only need $1,700, you want to talk to your faculty mentor about what other resources you could be paying for. This grant is for $3,000 and the Chancellor's Office wants you to spend that $3,000. So try to make the things that you are identifying in this student plan come out to $3,000. Okay. If you've got questions on your student budget plan, again, you can reach out to me directly and I can give you some guidance on how to fill out the form, whether certain expenditures would be covered or not. Feel free to ask me for additional information on that. So again, when you are done with this, you will need to complete this application checklist. Your first step is contacting me, and by watching this video and reviewing this application online, for the virtual reality that we are all living in, that counts as you contacting me, the campus coordinator, for the application website. I will give you the website at the end of this video. You need to work on a draft of your general information, which includes your personal information, your demographic information, some information about your past educational experiences. You need to create a draft of your 3 essays and your budget plan. The asterisk there means that that is part of the upload that you will combine into that one PDF. You'll need to speak with your faculty mentor about them crafting a recommendation letter for you. You'll need to append your official or unofficial transcripts. And then when you have that whole draft ready to go, all in one document, you will email me, the campus coordinator, to submit your application. I will review your application before you are permitted to upload your final application to the Chancellor's Office. So I get to look through your final draft before you are approved to submit to the Chancellor's Office. That draft is going to be due to me at the email listed there, tstatler@fullerton.edu, no later than 5 p.m. on Friday, February 5th. That gives me time to review your application, give you some feedback on any recommendations I would make, any modifications that I'm seeing you need to make corrections on. And then once you turn that into me and I review it, I will then send you the link to upload your final approved application. Before you contact me, before you send me your draft, you can't actually have access. You don't have access to upload your final application. The draft has to go through me first for me to review and make sure that you have all of the component pieces, and then I will send you the link to then upload your final approved application. Once you submit that application to the Chancellor's Office website, the Chancellor's Office will then send a notification via email out to the faculty member that you have identified as being the person to write your letter of recommendation. So you're going to want to talk to your faculty member prior to submitting your application to the Chancellor's Office. Instruct them to create their recommendation letter before they receive the link from the Chancellor's Office to upload. That way, when you submit your application and the Chancellor's Office sends them the link to upload the letter, they already have the letter ready to go. And then they can just upload it and you're good to go. So the dates here that you need to be particularly focused on. As I mentioned, your pre-approval draft needs to be emailed to me no later than Friday, February 5th at 5 p.m. I will review it. I will send you back via email some feedback and comments. At that time, with the feedback I give you, I will also append the link to the website for the Chancellor's Office for you to upload your final draft. Once I send that to you, I do not need to see your final draft again. I'm only giving you feedback one time, okay? The electronic submission to the Chancellor's Office website, your final complete approved application package, needs to be submitted to the Chancellor's Office no later than Friday, February 19th by 5 p.m. That's why we do a 2-week window. I want to be able to have time to review your application, give you feedback, and have you have enough time to make any modifications before the Chancellor's Office deadline occurs. Okay. Normally, if we were holding this workshop live and in person, this would be my stopping point to turn the focus to you, to answer any questions that you would have. But since this is a virtual presentation of this workshop. Please note that if you have any questions about anything that I've presented in this video to date, feel free to email me, again, Statler, first initial, last name, at fullerton.edu. Send me an email with your questions and I will respond generally within 24 hours. The last thing I want to cover with you are some of the common problems that the Chancellor's Office frequently sees with the Sally Casanova Pre-Doctoral Program applications. So these are some of the warning signs, some of the things for you to be aware of when you are reviewing your draft of your full application. So some common problems that they've seen with applications involve things like your question responses, not having appropriate context or significance for research. Again, this program is directed at trying to grow the population of people who want to come back to the CSU system to work as professors. Therefore, the program is guided towards research degrees. You need to have a clear research focus for this application. This is why it's so important for you to be working with your faculty mentor at this time. Make sure that in your responses to those questions, the context and significance of your research is incredibly clear in your responses. Recognize, though, that the people reviewing your application may not be experts in your discipline. So make sure as well that as you're writing your responses, that your language isn't so esoteric, isn't so disciplinary specific that it makes it hard for someone who's not within your area to follow. Make sure that it would be understandable to somebody outside of your discipline. You want to make sure that you are really clear in your commitment and your description to your commitment to university teaching. Again, as this is the purpose of this program, the reviewers want to be sure that you are committed to becoming a university professor. Because of that, if your career goals do not fit with any of the CSU teaching opportunities, if the program, if the discipline, if the area that you are interested in does not exist at any CSU campus, your career goals wouldn't necessarily fit with this program. So you want to make sure that what you are describing is something that is a department, is a program, is a discipline, is a major within one of the CSU campuses. We want to make sure that your responses show a focus and a commitment to what your anticipated degree aspirations are. So if somebody indicates that they are intending on applying to multiple kinds of degree programs, if they show any sort of wishy-washiness, if they're showing a description of applying to PhD programs in multiple different disciplines, that doesn't show the focus that the reviewers are looking for. So make sure that you are specific and directed in your focus in that description. When it comes to the budget, make sure, as I've already established, that your budget is realistic and incredibly thorough. If your budget is sort of generic and doesn't really give specific amounts on how much it would cost, the committee is going to look negatively upon your application. Make sure your budget makes sense. It's credible. Make sure that budget is addressing items that are coverable by this program, and make sure that your identification of what expenditures will cost is thorough. Again, make sure that that plan is specific, that it shows planning, it shows forethought, and that it shows your commitment to growing your capability as a PhD applicant. Lastly, this goes without saying, but please, please, please make sure that you do your due diligence on typos, on misspelled words, on grammatical errors, on syntax problems. You want to make sure that this is a clean document application. Some of the rationale that has been given in the past for rejecting Sally Casanova scholarship applications are listed here. I'm not going to go through each of these specifically. We've hit on a lot of these same ideas in discussing the contents of the application already, but you really do want to make sure that you are hitting everything that the application is asking for and that you are clearly and thoroughly giving your rationale, giving your responses. So overall, My advice to you in creating the draft of your Sally Casanova Pre-Doctoral Program application falls into 3 buckets. There is some advice on preparation. I have some advice on general writing and some advice on how to format the actual document itself. In your preparation, before you even start typing or picking up a pen to paper, you want to make sure you read the application from cover to cover. Make sure you look through the entire document and know what to expect. Take a look at this research funding opportunity. Play around on the website, on the Chancellor's Office website. Take a look at who they have funded before. Take a look at that list of former recipients. Can you see evidence of what your interest looks like in some of the people who have received this program, the scholarship in the past? Review the criteria by which the proposal is being judged. If you understand what the reviewers are looking for, you can be sure to craft that content into your application. Some general writing advice I would give. Again, make sure you are thoroughly reading and precisely and completely answering each of the component pieces of those individual questions. Don't worry about having redundancy from answer to answer. We don't want to assume that the person reviewing your question is reviewing your question number 1, then your question number 2, then your question number 3. It may be that somebody is only reviewing question number 2s, therefore they never read your question number 1. So it's okay if there's a little bit of redundancy in the way that you answer those 3 questions. Again, remember in your writing that you want to be both personal and focused on your research. Show enthusiasm in your response. That's what's going to stand out to those reviewers. And again, remember, you're writing for an educated audience, not necessarily an audience of people in your discipline, but this is an educated audience. So they expect you to be able to speak at an educated level. Be careful, though, in doing that you're avoiding too much discipline-specific or technical jargon from your area, from your research focus. Again, these are not necessarily people who are active in your discipline, so they may not be as familiar with abbreviations or codes or nicknames or technical jargon within your discipline. Be prepared to spell those kinds of things out. On the actual document itself, some advice on formatting your paper. I've mentioned this earlier, but don't combine your questions. You want to have a separate page for each one of those 3 questions. Also, don't skip questions. You need to answer question 1, you need to answer question 2, you need to answer question 3. Keep your word count appropriate, between 300 and 600 words. And if you've got multiple paragraphs for those, which you should if you're having 600 word responses, keep your paragraphs relatively short with clear transitions and clear organization. Make sure, again, like I indicated, for each one of those questions, put your name at the top of the page, rewrite or copy and paste the question itself, the exact question, onto the top of the page. Go ahead and bold that so it stands out. Then skip a space and then begin your answer. Feel free to write your responses in the first person. It's okay to use I often as you're describing your responses. The reviewers know that you're talking about yourself, so first person, when appropriate, is okay in this situation. As far as font size and font type, you want to use something common. I would recommend using the Times New Roman font and a 12-point font size because that's the easiest to read. Go ahead and number your total pages. Again, remember, you are combining all of these individual documents into one PDF. Go ahead and number the pages of that PDF so that when you upload, the person reviewing your application packet can see that your entire application is numerically included. And again, lastly, it goes without saying, but you want to make sure that you proofread. Make sure that your entire document is free of typos, any grammatical errors, any misspellings, any syntax errors. So things like incomplete sentences or run-on sentences. Absolutely, positively make sure that you are doing multiple proofreads of your final draft. Again, as you've gone through this, if you have any questions or if I can answer any requests about will this count in my budget plan, feel free to contact me. My office is in College Park 950, but with the current environment, the best way to get in touch with me is via email. My email is listed there, tstatler@fullerton.edu. And again, if you have not already found it, the link to the actual application itself is hyperlinked here. You can copy and paste this into your browser, or if you just typed into a Google search Sally Casanova Scholarship, you will also find the link to the document. If you are looking for additional writing support, also know that you can make an appointment with a graduate consultant. First, you want to work with your faculty mentor because they're going to understand what you're trying to accomplish with this whole application packet. But if you just want some help with your writing skills, you can reach out to our graduate consultants at gradconsultants@fullerton.edu and make a one-on-one virtual appointment with them for additional help as well. Again, if you've got any general questions or specific questions about the application process, about the program itself, or if there's anything I can do to help you understand what's needed to complete this application, please feel free to reach out to me at tstatler@fullerton.edu. I wish you the best of luck in creating your draft, and I very much look forward to reviewing your completed application drafts when they're ready to go.